This is a perfect addition to the San Francisco Giants pitching staff, as one MLB insider links the franchise to the next Japanese star. In an offseason that is going to be headlined by starting pitching, relief pitching, this is a huge deal for the San Francisco Giants heading into the 2026 season. Welcome back to SF Giants Digest. If you haven't yet, make sure to go down below, hit the subscribe button, as we will have all of the breaking news, rumors, speculation throughout the winter, throughout the offseason. We'll have all of that here on the channel. So make sure to go down below and hit the subscribe button as the offseason continues. Now, getting into this video, we are talking about the potential next Japanese star coming over from Asia, and that is Tatsuya Imai, who any team that is in need of starting pitching is going to be linked to him, but the Giants are listed as one of the favorites and one of the leading candidates to land the right-handed pitcher. Getting right into what we are discussing, this comes from Mark Feinsand, who is one of the lead MLB insiders for Major League Baseball, and he said, fresh off of a season that saw him post a career-low 1.92 earned run average over 163 and two-thirds innings, Imai seems likely to be posted by the Seibu Lions, adding another decorated Japanese star to this year's free agent market. Imai, who is listed at 5'11" and 154 pounds, throws in the mid-90s and features a 6-pitch arsenal, helping him to a 2.21 ERA since the start of 2022. Given his age and recent performance, Imai should draw plenty of attention this offseason. Now, this image cuts it off, but right under it, he lists the Giants as the first team for the potential favorites for this guy to come over to the States. And this is a huge deal. Obviously, Buster Posey, Zach Minozzi, and the front office, Greg Johnson, they have all been extremely outspoken about the fact that starting pitching is going to be, priority number one throughout this offseason. The Giants lineup is finally at a spot where, you'd love to see some additions, but if they didn't add anything and they specifically went after starting pitching, big names, you'd be okay with it for the most part. Maybe a right fielder, maybe a second baseman, even though Casey Schmidt seems to have that locked down. But for the most part, the biggest holes on this team, and they're pretty glaring, are on the pitching mound, and that is in the staff, the starting staff, and in the bullpen. So Tatsuya Imai would absolutely be a welcome addition to this team, to this roster. As Around the Foghorn mentions, aroundthefoghorn.com, which I do write for, so subtle plug. But they said the 27-year-old throws hard with a fastball that can range anywhere from 95 to 100 miles an hour, with 4 to 5 other pitches in his repertoire. It definitely seems like he's more than ready to make the jump to the big leagues and would be a welcome addition. The Giants only have Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, and Landon Roop as definite starters in the 26 rotation, so they need to get at least 2 more starters to fill out the rest of it. Imai could slot in either as the team's second or third option after ace Logan Webb. Now, the end of this little paragraph, this section, talks about the Giants' current rotation heading into 2026, and if we're being honest, it's weak. It's very top-heavy. Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, they were one of the best 1-2 punches in baseball for the majority of the 2026 season. They performed really well. They were both all-stars. Just really, really good years from both of them. Logan Webb will probably finish top 5 Cy Young, I would imagine, even though he wasn't a finalist, which I think he should have been that number 3 finalist, but that's for another conversation. Robbie Ray was awesome for the majority of the year. He burned out a little bit. His September was really, really bad, but outside of that month, for the first 5 months of the season, he was very, very good for the Giants. Landon Roop, kind of a breakout year. I know the numbers don't look as great as they should, but he dealt with a lot of injuries, which didn't help. And then his last 2 starts in between his 2 injuries were not very good, if we're being honest. If you take those 2 starts out, he has a low 3s ERA for the entire year. So a really strong year from Landon Roop. If he's your 5 going into the season, that's dream case scenario. Kaiwei Tang, Trevor McDonald, the last 2, not great. You could slide Carson Wisenhunt in there, Hayden Burnside, whoever you want to put in those last 2 spots. It's a weak back end of the rotation. You do not want those guys, as your 4 and 5 starters heading into the year. The offseason would be a fail. You'd be setting yourself up for extreme disappointment heading into 2026, and that is not a rotation that has any possibility of reaching the playoffs. So obviously starting pitching is going to be the focus of the offseason, which we've made very clear, but Tatsuya Imai is one of the best options available that the Giants should be focusing on. Now, Buster Posey made a kind of sneaky trip to Japan in the middle of the season this year. Not a lot of people knew about it, but some reporters have, broken it that he went over to Japan to meet with some of the executives over there in the MPB. I don't know if he talked with players or agents or however that works, but he did go over to Japan and start those relationships where the Giants need to start pulling away some of these Japanese stars from the Dodgers. And it's not just the Giants. The Dodgers cannot keep signing every single Japanese star that gets posted. First it was Shohei, obviously. Now Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, who all three had huge parts of their postseason. So it is important for Major League Baseball to start, spreading out these Japanese stars coming over from Asia. And Tatsuya Imai he's definitely the biggest pitcher coming over this year. Murakami is the third baseman, first baseman hitter, who is very, very good as well. But the Giants have both of those positions covered. So Imai is a guy who you can bring him in, and he slides right into probably your 3 slot in the rotation. Best case scenario, he becomes number 2 right behind Logan Webb. I don't think he's as talented as Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but he still throws, upper 90s, mid to high 90s, touches 100 with 5 extra pitches, kind of similar to Yu Darvish, who kind of has the kitchen sink. So does Yamamoto. It's pretty normal for Japanese pitchers to come over and have 4 or more pitches in their arsenal that are all average to above average. So I think it is a big deal for the Giants to look to add Tatsuya Imai. This is what he's done kind of throughout his career in the MPB with the Seibu Lions. You see 2025, which is the highlighted one at the bottom, was a very good year for him. 163 innings, a 1.92 earned run average, a 2.01 FIP. Just a very strong year. It was also, I believe, his career high in strikeouts per 9 at 9.79. A big jump from his earlier career where he was in the 7s and the 6s in that stat, but he's learned to miss bats a lot more. He's learned to get that strikeout when needed. And a career low, 2.47 walks per 9 as well, which is a huge deal. When you're throwing the most innings you really have the last 2 seasons for Imai, the walk and strikeout numbers are both the best of his career. So that's a big deal. He's not just, walking a lot of guys throughout the north of 150 innings per season. He's still limiting the walks more than he ever has, and then racking up the strikeouts at a near 10 strikeouts per 9 rate. So obviously a very talented starting pitcher in Japan. You hope that you probably don't expect him to have as good of stats over here, but you'd hope, he can stay in the low to mid 3s and throw around 170 innings for you if you're signing him to a multi-year deal, which is expected for him to get. He's probably going to get between 3 and 5 years. I don't know what the AAV is going to be, maybe around $15 to $20 million, but we'll have to wait and see what the market dictates. Closing out here, this is from, I'm sorry, I forgot where I got this. I believe this is from the Sporting Journal, but it says the 27-year-old Imai has steadily improved as a strike thrower and innings eater each of the last 3 years, and his fastball was still sitting in the mid-90s at the end of 2025, even though he'd worked 160-plus innings for the second consecutive year. His delivery arguably doesn't take full advantage of his special athleticism and flexibility, and he might find another gear in Major League Baseball. He has the stuff of a good mid-rotation starter and is in his prime. Now, the fact that he could be a mid-rotation starter and is in his prime is something that the Giants have not seen a lot recently. Blake Snell and Carlos Rodon were both kind of in their primes when they were Giants, but only for 1 year. Logan Webb is in his prime. Obviously, he's repeatedly one of the best starters in baseball. Robbie Ray's a little past his prime, so getting a guy 27 years old right in the middle of his prime who I would say has the upside of being a 2-starter in this league, this would be a huge get for the San Francisco Giants and one that absolutely adds to your chances of getting into the postseason. And when you get into the postseason, being one of the 3 starters that you use in a playoff series, then you can put Landon Roop in the bullpen as a weapon, and who knows, maybe they go out and get a Ranger Suarez as well, or a Dylan Cease, or whatever. We don't know how much the Giants are willing to spend, but there are a lot of starting pitching names on the market, so he becomes just another weapon if you play up to the level you expect to and get into the playoffs. And before we get past this piece was from Fangraphs. I don't know why that blanked in my head, but this was from Fangraphs.com. But getting right back to it before we close, Tatsuya Imai is the most talented arm coming over from Japan, and it's really not close. There are a couple other guys, Cody Ponce coming from Korea, a few others, but in terms of talent and stuff and kind of track record in Japan, Tatsuya Imai is definitely the number 1 option on that market. And if the Giants are a little, I don't want to say scared, but cautious is the word Greg Johnson used when it comes to handing out north of $100 million contracts to Dylan Cease, Ranger Suarez, whoever it may be in Major League Baseball currently, Imai could be seen as a safer option just because we've seen time and time again Japanese starters coming over and being effective in Major League Baseball. Obviously, Yoshinobu Yamamoto just dominated the World Series, so that is a little bit of recency bias, but he has been very good since coming over. He is a Cy Young finalist this year. Roki Sasaki, it wasn't the year I'm sure anyone saw coming for him in his rookie season, but ended up being a huge weapon for the Dodgers bullpen in the playoffs. Just Masahiro Tanaka is another one. Shota Imanaga, who is a free agent, another one who has been effective in his 2 seasons. There's just a huge track record of Japanese starters coming over to Major League Baseball and being extremely effective and putting up very good seasons right off the bat. So I do think if the Giants want a real chance at making the playoffs, if they want to bolster this rotation, Tatsuya Imai is a huge, huge option that they should turn towards. Now let me know down in the comments if you think he ends up becoming a Giant, if you think the Giants should target Imai in free agency. I think that it is a very good option and one that Buster Posey and Zach Manassian are absolutely going to explore. And make sure to subscribe to SF Giants Digest for all off-season news.